You're sitting on the couch together. The TV is on. Neither of you is really watching it. She glances over at you for a second, then looks away. And something feels different. Not bad, not dramatic, just distant. Like there's something she wants to say, but can't quite find the words. Maybe she's been quieter lately. Maybe conversations feel more practical than personal. Maybe the relationship still works on the surface, but beneath the surface, something important feels missing. And if you're honest, you've noticed it too. Why does it feel like we're here, but not really together? Did I miss something? Is she pulling away? Or is this just what happens after enough time passes? Here's the truth. Most people never hear. When a woman wants deeper intimacy, she usually doesn't ask for intimacy. She asks for something that creates it. Because intimacy isn't built through grand romantic gestures. It's built through emotional safety. Through feeling seen. Through feeling understood. So if she starts asking you certain questions, pay attention. Not because she's testing you, not because she's unhappy, but because she's reaching for connection in the only way she knows how. And if you understand what those questions really mean, you'll stop missing some of the most important invitations she'll ever give you. You're not failing at love. This is not a sign that something is broken. Every couple that has ever loved each other has stood exactly where you're standing. By the end of this video, you'll understand the two questions women often ask before intimacy deepens, why those questions matter far more than they appear to, and how your response can either open the door to connection or quietly close it. Let's get into it. Most couples believe intimacy starts with physical closeness. But the real truth is that intimacy starts much earlier. It starts in the nervous system. Long before she reaches for your hand, long before she leans in, long before she says she wants more closeness, her nervous system is already asking one question. Am I emotionally safe here? That's the part most people miss. Most couples focus on behavior. Dates, texts, affection, physical connection. Those things matter, but they aren't the foundation. They're the result. When safety leaves a relationship, love doesn't disappear. It goes underground. What looks like withdrawal is often protection. What looks like distance is often uncertainty. And what looks like a woman losing interest is frequently a woman wondering whether it's still safe to let herself be fully known. That's why the two questions we're about to talk about matter so much. They aren't random. They aren't casual conversation. They're emotional doorways. And whether you recognize them or not determines whether connection grows or slowly begins to drift. Point number 1. The hidden invitation. Most couples hear these questions literally. That's where they miss everything. Most people in relationships assume communication is about the words being spoken. But intimacy lives beneath the words. A woman rarely says, "I need more emotional connection." Instead, she asks questions that reveal whether connection is possible. Because vulnerability feels risky, especially if she's been disappointed, dismissed, or misunderstood before. Her nervous system is reading you before her mind can catch up. It's looking for signs. Safety, presence, availability. For example, instead of saying, "I need reassurance," she may ask, "Do you still find me attractive?" Most men hear a question about appearance. But beneath the surface, she may actually be asking, "Do you still see me? Do I still matter to you? Am I still chosen?" And when you understand that, everything changes. That's the shift that turns a relationship that feels uncertain into one that feels emotionally secure. Point number 2. Question 1. How do you really feel about us? Here's the part no one talks about. This question isn't seeking information. It's seeking emotional visibility. Most couples think relationship security comes from knowing where they stand. But real security comes from feeling where they stand. There's a difference, a huge one. When she asks, "How do you really feel about us?" she often already knows the factual answer. You're together. You spend time together. You say you love her. That's not what she's measuring. She's measuring emotional presence. She's asking whether your inner world still includes her, whether you're emotionally available, whether she's still part of your future, not just your routine. The disconnecting response sounds like this. Why are you asking that? Nothing's wrong. The connecting response sounds like this. Honestly, I still choose you. I still care about us. And I know I haven't always shown that as clearly as I could. See the difference? One answers the question. The other answers the feeling beneath the question. And somewhere inside her, a quiet voice says, "He actually heard what I meant." And when that happens, the walls between you start to come down without either of you having to say a word. Point number 3. Emotional curiosity beats emotional certainty. And this is the one most couples never figure out. Most couples stop being curious once they become comfortable. They think knowing each other is enough. But intimacy doesn't survive on certainty. It survives on curiosity. People change. Life changes. Dreams change. Fears change. And relationships drift when curiosity disappears. When she asks, "What have you been thinking about lately?" Or, "What's been going on with you?" she isn't always looking for information. Sometimes she's checking whether you still let her in. Because emotional intimacy is built when two people continue discovering each other, not once, repeatedly. The disconnected version sounds like, "Nothing much." The connected version sounds like, "Honestly, I've been feeling pressure lately and haven't really talked about it." Small difference, massive impact. Because her brain quietly registers, "He trusts me enough to let me see him." And that's when your partner stops feeling like someone beside you and starts feeling like someone deeply connected to you. Point number 4. Question 2. Can I tell you something? This is where it gets really interesting, because this question sounds almost meaningless. But it's one of the biggest intimacy tests in any relationship. Not a test she's giving you, a test her nervous system is running. When she says, "Can I tell you something?" she's usually asking a much bigger question. Can I be vulnerable here? Can I bring you my truth? Will you stay with me emotionally if I do? Most couples fail this moment without realizing it. Not because they're cruel, because they're distracted, defensive, or focused on solving. She says, "Can I tell you something?" and immediately hears, "Make it quick," or "You're overthinking," or "That's not what happened." The connecting version is different. It's simple. You pause. You turn toward her. You listen, not to respond, not to fix, just to understand. Because intimacy isn't built through solutions, it's built through presence. Not better arguments, not more convincing explanations, not perfect communication techniques, but two people feeling safe enough to tell the truth. And when she feels that, something inside her begins to soften. Point number 5. The moment beneath the moment. But here's what nobody explains. The question is rarely the question. Most couples focus on content. Emotionally mature couples focus on meaning. Every intimacy bid carries two conversations, the spoken one and the unspoken one. When she asks, "Can I tell you something?" the spoken conversation is obvious. The unspoken conversation sounds more like, "Will you meet me here?" When she asks, "How do you really feel about us?" the unspoken version becomes, Can I relax into this relationship again? Most people respond to words. Deeply connected partners respond to longing. Because beneath every meaningful question is an emotional need trying to find a safe place to land. And when you learn to hear that need, connection starts happening naturally. Not because you're using a communication hack, not because you're memorizing techniques, but because you're becoming someone emotionally available enough to hear what others miss. And that's the shift that turns a relationship from something you manage into something that feels like home. Point number 6, why men often miss these signals. Here's the part that deserves compassion. Most men aren't ignoring these questions. They're translating them differently. Many men grow up learning that love means providing answers, fixing problems, creating solutions, being useful. So when she brings emotion, he often hears a problem to solve. But intimacy doesn't always need solutions. Sometimes it needs witnesses. A man hears, "Can I tell you something?" and thinks, "How do I fix this?" A woman often hopes, "Can you stay with me while I feel this?" Neither person is wrong. They're speaking different emotional languages. And when you understand that, blame starts disappearing. Because what looked like indifference was often misunderstanding. What looked like distance was often two people trying to connect in opposite directions. And that's when repair becomes possible. Point number 7, turning toward instead of away. And here's what changes everything. Intimacy isn't built in the giant moments. It's built in the 30-second ones, the tiny crossroads, the ordinary evenings, the seemingly insignificant questions. Most couples think connection grows from vacations, anniversaries, and romantic gestures. Those things help, but lasting intimacy grows from turning toward each other repeatedly. Day after day, question after question, moment after moment. She asks, "Can I tell you something?" You put down the phone. She asks, "How do you really feel about us?" You answer with honesty instead of defensiveness. She reaches. You reach back. Again and again. That's how emotional safety forms, like scar tissue healing, like trust rebuilding, like two people slowly becoming visible to each other again. And one day, she feels something she couldn't quite feel before. Not pressure, not uncertainty, not distance. Connection. Real connection. The kind that makes intimacy feel natural instead of forced. This isn't a checklist. It's an invitation to show up differently. When you internalize this, you stop reacting and start responding. You stop hearing only the words and start hearing the longing beneath them, and your partner will feel that difference before you've even explained it. These aren't tips for a better relationship. They're the beginning of becoming the kind of partner you always wanted someone to be for you. Because when a woman asks those two questions, she's not asking for perfect answers. She's asking whether it's safe to come closer. And the relationship you want often begins the moment you learn how to say yes.